Chapter 1. The Relic. They called him a lunatic, but Reinhart knew the truth. Those dark, twisted stories he'd uncovered in his research held the key to his own past, and to the future of humanity. The village elders dismissed his findings as distractions from a life gone awry. But that wouldn't deter him. The relic would reveal everything. He was sure of it. The old man hobbled through the overgrown brambles that choked the path leading to the woods. His left hand shook unsteadily, clutching a piece of ancient parchment. Reinhart had inherited the parchment from his father, who had taken up the same feverish search before him. It was his father who had found the faintest traces of the ancient society that once thrived on this very soil. In his final years, he was deemed a madman, but Reinhart couldn't ignore the pull of his father's discoveries. The setting sun cast a crimson-orange glow through the trees, stretching the shadows of the gnarled trunks into grotesque shapes on the forest floor. With each step, the wind whispered its sinister secrets through the leaves above, as if trying to warn Reinhart of his impending doom. He continued undeterred, his eyes fixed on the cryptic symbols that adorned the parchment. The forest thickened as Reinhart ventured deeper, moving further from the village and the reality he had known. He was no stranger to this place, having spent many afternoons wandering its depths in search of the relic his father had once described. He had always felt drawn to the woods, as if an unseen force beckoned him forward. Though he had never found the relic, he couldn't shake the conviction that it was there, waiting for him to uncover its mysteries. The sun dipped below the horizon, plunging the forest into darkness. Shadows melded into one another, creating a world of black and gray. Reinhart fumbled in his coat pocket for the flint and steel he carried, and struck it into the damp air. Sparks danced and disappeared, each one an ephemeral promise of light. Finally, a flame took hold on the wick of his lantern, and the darkness retreated, leaving a circle of flickering light in its wake. He continued onward, his heart pounding in his chest. The air grew colder, the wind more insistent. It moaned through the trees like the cries of the damned, but Reinhart refused to be deterred. The symbols on his parchment seemed to pulse with an eldritch energy, urging him onward to his fate. The relic was near. He could feel it. Suddenly, the forest opened around him, revealing a clearing bathed in eerie moonlight. The air was unnaturally still, as though the world held its breath, waiting for the revelations hidden within the parchment. In the center of the clearing stood a monolithic obsidian obelisk, the smooth surface etched with familiar symbols. The relic stood sentinel over the forest, a dark monument to the ancient civilization that once dominated the land. Reinhart approached it with a mixture of reverence and trepidation. The relic seemed to hum with its own power, its shadows casting an otherworldly glow upon the grass. With trembling hands, he held the parchment up to the obelisk, its symbols aligning perfectly with those carved into the stone. The wind picked up, swirling around him in a frenzied dance as the relic began to resonate with the parchment. The hum grew louder, a cacophony of voices melding together, whispering secrets from the forgotten past. The moonlight intensified, casting an ethereal glow over the clearing. Reinhart's heart raced, his pulse pounding in his ears as the relic pulsed with energy. The world beyond the clearing ceased to exist in that moment, as the forces he had summoned threatened to consume him. And yet, he stood firm, the parchment clutched tightly in his hand. The relic had accepted his offering, and the knowledge it contained was now his to unravel. As the chaos subsided and the wind softened to a gentle breeze, Reinhart gazed at the obelisk with newfound understanding. The relic had not only confirmed his father's research, but had revealed its own dark purpose. The ancient civilization had not simply vanished, but had been swallowed by the very forces they had sought to control. And now, Reinhart held their secrets in his hands, a burden he would carry for the rest of his days. But there was no turning back, and he knew what must be done. The relic's purpose was clear. It was both a warning and a call to action. The fate of humanity rested on his shoulders, and he would not shirk his newfound responsibility. With the relic's knowledge coursing through his veins, Reinhart stepped into the darkness, determined to confront the forces that had wrought the downfall of those who had come before him. And perhaps, just perhaps, he could save the world from a similar fate.